Hi, my name is Stella Etoh Nombo, and I am a mental and behavioral health therapist, as well as the founder and executive director of Diba Holistic Wellness Care, which is a mental, behavioral, and holistic wellness care brand. And basically, our focus is to help individuals, communities, and families to identify, heal, and thrive in their true authentic self. And I am happy to be here just for Women Africa.
How do you define mental health and why is it as important as physical health?
So I'll define mental health in different spectrums. Then we can pick up from with the discussion. So one of the most basic definitions of mental health is that it is how we think, how we feel, and how we act. Alternatively, you can define mental health as and comprising our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. But now, one definition I really love the most is a definition from the World Health Organization. And you'll know why I mean it because it's really comprehensive and on a spectrum. WHO defines mental health as a person's ability to recognize their potential, make healthy decisions, cope with the normal stresses of life, be productive and fruitful, and lastly, be able to give back to your community. See how comprehensive the definition is. And to link it to the last part of the question, which is why is it as important as physical health? Now, when we hear mental health, we have a tendency of thinking it through the lenses of stereotypes, thinking it through the lenses of stigma, or maybe thinking it through the lenses of maybe we are talking about madness or witchcraft, etc. But just the same way as your physical health tells you that, okay, it is time to go to the hospital to go for physical checkup. It is time to take your meds. Mental health is equally as important as physical health because there is something called the body-mind connection. Have you ever had a heartbreak before? And then let's say the heartbreak happens and all of a sudden you have intense headache, but you know for sure that you didn't have headache from anywhere, you didn't have fever from anywhere, but just the news of the heartbreak just triggered a biological reaction, which is the fever and the headache. So that goes to tell you that there is a body-mind connection. So if your mental health is well, your body is going to feel the results. If your health is well, your mind is going to read the results. So there is a deep connection between the body and the mind. And so this tells you that physical health and mental health are linked, and that's why they are equally important for the proper functioning and healthiness and wellness of an individual.
What are some of the most common mental health challenges you see in Cameroon?
Oh, yeah, that question. I think that one of the most common mental health conditions that I've been able to work with my clients through, and also from research, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have substance use related disorders like alcohol and all the substance use, be the use of cocaine, the use of hard drugs. So those are the most common mental health conditions that are present in Cameroon.
How does stigma around mental illness impact people's wellness to seek help?
I think that just like we know, right? Stigma has the way that it crumbles the foundation of an individual. Stigma tells them that they are not worthy to receive love and attention. Stigma tells them that if they are truly vulnerable and true to who they are, they will not be accepted. So stigma actually impedes people from receiving the help that is available. And not only that, stigma also makes it difficult for people experiencing mental health conditions or general life stresses from actually knowing that there is help available. So there are twofold. From in one, it hinders them from accessing care. Two, it hinders them from even knowing that there was care available in the first place, talk more of even accessing it.
How do you integrate traditional beliefs or practices into your therapy sessions when appropriate?
I think this takes us to cultural sensitivity when we are doing therapy, right? And I think that's one thing that is really key with us because it's about holistic, it's not just mental and behavioral health therapy, it's holistic wellness. So we understand that people have your personal beliefs, and as a therapist, you would not want to project your personal biases or beliefs on these people. And that's why cultural competence and cultural sensitivity are key values that every therapist should have. So now, coming to your traditional beliefs, there are people that are very collectivist in your making because of culture. They believe that, we are communal. So imagine that you have a client that comes to you for, okay, let me use a very practical example. I've had a client come to me. The client had anxiety. And so this client believes that for them to process their life challenges, they need to do it with the help of your family. Now we know that therapy is a really personal thing and we want to keep confidentiality as possible. But to be culturally sensitive and aware of this client is ensuring that if this client sees your wellness journey or your journey to recovery and healing as best to incorporate your family, your friends, so that they could receive more accountability, etc. I would do that. I ensure that I brought all of these people in just so that one, the client sticks to their belief, which is my wellness journey should incorporate my family, etc. And also I will get more better to following the treatment plan if my family and friends keep me accountable. So in a nutshell, incorporating the beliefs of a client into your therapy session, even if it goes against, contemporary mental health standards, is important. That's when cultural sensitivity and competence comes in. Being able to, trust and respect the person's culture and work with them based off your cultural stipulations. So you have to be use what we call become culturally humble. And by culturally humble as a therapist, I mean that you are able to understand the person's traditions. You are able to understand the person's culture and tailor your therapy sessions and your treatment plan with your culture instead.
How early should mental health education begin in schools, and what should it look like?
All right. So I said I'd like to piggyback this question of our recent school tours to primary schools through universities. So I mentioned that to be able to properly handle mental health education in schools, firstly, you have to understand the level of the students. When we went to primary school students for mental health awareness and education, our approach was quite different because one, these students um, do not understand mental health the way you would expect them to understand it. So what we used drama therapy, music therapy, and play therapy for students of the primary school. So instead of coming to tell them that anxiety is defined as this, we rather incorporated role play, the use of music, the use of play therapy in teaching them about mental health. Now that sticks with them. They can go home and know that, okay, if I'm having heightened emotions and I want to self-soothe, they will not remember the word self-soothe, but they'll remember that you taught them that when they are angry, they can put your hand around your shoulder, do a butterfly hug, and then calm themselves down into happiness in order that they are not aggressive in your approach to your friends, your teachers, and classmates. So that's what the primary school student is going to remember. They're going to remember the actions and the play roles you did with them. Now, for a secondary school student, they would understand what self-soothing means because you teach them what it means. So in general, when you are tailoring material to do school tours, you first of all have to look at the developmental ages of the students. If it's primary school students, gravitate towards play therapy, gravitate towards role play, gravitate towards music therapy. It helps them retain. For secondary school and students in the university, you first of all have to do needs assessment. What is the predominant mental health issue that is plaguing this community? For some secondary schools, it could be substance use abuse. For some other secondary schools or universities, it could be anxiety and depression. So do your needs assessment, understand what each school needs, and then tailor your lesson to that particular condition. And then most importantly, we understand that not all students or parents would want to pay for therapy sessions for your kids. So after understanding what particular condition you're going to talk about, what is the solution after that? Are you going to give free therapy to help them navigate it? Are you going to do group therapy? So with that said, what we do is we pick out a mental health condition and do an education about it. Then at the last thing we do is offer them free services using group therapy, just so that they can be able to process it and get support when they understand that this is what you're going through.
What are some of the signs parents and teachers should look out for in children who may need mental health support?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. So there are different signs and symptoms that they should look out for based off different mental health condition. If it's for anxiety, they should look out for irritability, constant panic, constant fear. That could indicate that they are having anxiety. I don't want to go into the fact that there are different types of anxiety, but another thing they can look out for when it comes to anxiety is if this person is afraid of walking alone. This person is afraid of crossing the road, afraid of being in crowds. That is an indication that something is wrong. If it's in the case of depression, is this person slowly turning away from doing the activities that they enjoyed? Like they just want to isolate. They just want to stay alone. They do not take their bath. Your eating schedule is changing. They no longer sleep properly, which means your sleeping um pattern has changed. Your eating pattern has changed. Look out for those things. Now, if we're going a little bit, let's say, is psychosis. Do these people actually believe that somebody is chasing them when nobody is chasing them? They have a strong belief in something that is false. That's an indication of delusion. Or they constantly feel like somebody is touching them, meanwhile there's nobody there. Or maybe they feel like you're hearing something. People are talking to them in your ears. Pick these signs. And then for suicide, which is what I love to talk about. Is this person, um, always idealizing the idea that they want to kill themselves, they want to die? Do they say things like, "If I die, do this"? Do they say things like, I wish I was better off dead"? Or probably they say things like, "I feel this world doesn't need me anymore. I think that I'm better off just being so you all could have your peace." If it's substance use, does this person think that the only way that they can have peace in your mind is if they use a substance? So there are a bunch of things they could look out for based upon different conditions. But in summary, how is your eating pattern? Do they longer do the things they used to enjoy? If not, then it's a call for concern. Are they constantly reclined in themselves? Look for those changes in your behavioral patterns. Look for changes in your thought patterns.
What role does journaling or creative expression play in emotional healing?
Now, thank you for that question, because I'm going to answer from a very different perspective. Just imagine that as children. I think that as children, our creative mind is wild. Like we could think at the top of our feet, everything quickly. Think about going to Mars. Think about even living with aliens, right? Um, that's how powerful our mind is. Our mind has great imaginative power. But somewhere along the line, when we become adults, there's a tendency that our creative confidence and our creative ability begins to dwindle. Sometimes to even think about how tomorrow looks like, it feels like all hope is lost, like never. There is nothing good coming out of here. So there is no need for me to think about anything good. So what journaling does as a therapeutic or counseling technique is it helps you tap into your childhood energy. It helps you reignite your creative and your imaginative capacity. It helps you dream again. Most times we feel that there are so many things we cannot explain, there are so many things we cannot capture. And it's true. But if we have a pen and a paper and everywhere is shut down and we take the pen and the paper and we are writing down everything we are thinking in our mind without trying to be excellent, without trying to think for punctuation or any English styles. We just want to just empty out what is in our mind on our paper. What this does for us is it truly captures our emotional capacity. It truly captures the state of our psyche, and above all, helps us to identify patterns in our thoughts and behavior. For some people, it's journaling, which is narrative therapy. For some people, it's creative, which is art therapy or music. Um, I like to say that imagine that you are so stressed out, you're having a heartbreak, and you put down your thoughts or your pain in music form. That's pretty amazing. Just put out everything you're feeling and you write it down on paper. When you've written it down on paper, you could turn it into a song. For some people, is the use of art. They take the paints, the paintbrush, and whatever you're feeling, they transmit and they transcribe your emotions and all the pain and all the feelings you're feeling into artwork. So every color tells a story of the pain you're feeling. Every brush stroke tells a story of the words of the writer have written. So basically, journaling and creative expressions in therapy help a client tap into your energy, your inner energy of creativity, your imaginative power to one, express their emotions in a way that words cannot. Two, see the patterns and walk through those patterns. Three, it helps them to know that I can be vulnerable with myself and it's okay. So it normalizes vulnerability and accountability to self.
How is social media affecting mental health among young people in Cameroon and Africa?
Social media is good and bad. For the mental health, social media could lead to comparison. I think that I was talking with a friend yesterday, and she shared a meme, and I was laughing over it. Where in the meme it says that for some of us, we already had the plans that when I go to primary school, next to secondary school, after I'm done with university, I'm going to get a good job, get married at 25, have a good job, and then maybe give birth to kids and all of that. We all had, went through those stages where we plan all of those things. For some people, the things they planned, it worked out exactly. For some other people, we did it. So with the advent of social media, many people get to open up themselves to a lot of comparison, thinking that your plans that didn't work means that you're a failure because the plans of other people did work. So with the rise of comparison on social media, it leads to self-esteem issues. It leads to the feeling of worthlessness. It leads to the feelings of more word can I anxiety. Yes, it leads to a lot of anxiety. People are constantly anxious to want to do something to please the crowd. It leads to a lot of people pleasing because if I feel that my plans for life didn't work, then maybe let me look towards Lekon. Lekon is my friend, so let me just reach out to him and ask him to cut me soap. So if Lekon asks me to do anything that I'm not really comfortable to do, I'm going to do it because I want to be like him. So it leads to a lot of people losing their sense of individuality and identity and thus depression.
What advice would you give to youth who are struggling with anxiety, depression, or identity issues?
Okay. So I think that I'll just say this to them. What you're going through, somebody else has gone through it. And there is no need to hide, thinking that people would not understand um, what you're going through. So there is help available if only you get to open up yourself to the right people. And the right people are people who would not judge you. There are people that want to connect you with help that is possible. There are people that will buy and vouch for your healing. And it is a stage. It's okay to feel the feelings you're feeling. It doesn't make you less human. It doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. And as humans, you have the right to feel these emotions the way you're feeling them. You have the right to have blamed every other person. But at this stage, it is within you that bliss is found. So take up, yourself from the rubbles and decide to open up yourself to opportunities available for healing and take responsibility for your wellness.
How affordable or accessible is therapy for the average person in rural or low income areas in Cameroon?
You cannot imagine. It's pretty accessible. There is a lot of talk about mental health awareness and psycho education in different regions of Cameroon. And not only that, therapy session is as low as $5 if I want to convert it to the US currency, which to us is like 2,500 francs, which even the average Cameroonian can afford, especially being that the organizations in charge of this awareness and education are non-profits. So with regards to going for community outreaches, they have sometimes totally free sessions. So it's pretty affordable, especially when led by non-profit organizations.
What's your final word about mental illness?
Mental health is not witchcraft, neither is it possession. Mental health simply means that emotionally you're well, psychologically you're well, socially you're well. So mental illness now is the opposite of that. It means your emotions now become distorted, your mind becomes distorted, and now that affects your relationship socially with other people. So in general, when we understand the very basics of what mental health is, which is wellness in body, mind, and spirit, we would get to prioritize our well-being, our self-care strategies, and also learn to put healthy boundaries in our relationship with ourselves and with the people in our community.